All right, welcome everybody to this Thursday night Dynasty Strong team call. Super grateful for those of you that are live and those that are watching the recording. We are grateful for you as well. A quick announcement I want to make, we were kind of briefly chatting about it before we hit record on this, is there is a new business activity tracker that was released after the New Leader Conference. Also, shout out to Kim Reyes for earning a spot at the New Leader Conference and then sharing that with us. If you don't have that tracker yet, it's in the BODi Partners app. I also did a 20-minute YouTube video where I walk through the new tracker and explain how it works, and I put that up on YouTube, and it's inside the team page, so you can see that there. One other quick announcement is to remember about Coach Summit in Texas this summer. It is one of my favorite events of the year. It's going to be absolutely incredible, and they just announced that Brendan Bouchard is going to be the keynote speaker at that event. So that alone is I remember going to see Brendan Bouchard for my first time, and it was like $1,000 to go to his event with Shaelee Johnson and Brendan Bouchard. And Summit ticket is only like a quarter of that. So come to Summit with us and be a part of the team and get to hang out with the team. With that being said, Shaelee, I'm going to pass it over to you. If you have it, you have everything all set up?
Yes, and
Okay,
I
I just
can
need to
share
make,
my screen, I bet, right?
yeah, I just have to make
Hi,
you
everyone.
a,
I'm here
oh,
from my school. I am Shaelee. I have been a BODi partner for 7 years, so that went really fast. And I'm an elementary teacher. I've been doing that for 10 years, and I've got 3 kids. And I love this business so much. I'm not going to start listing off a whole bunch of do you call it accolades? Because to be honest, I don't know if I have that many. And I want to be completely transparent with you guys. That's okay by me, because that's one thing that's actually helped me keep going is if I feel that I am failing or falling off track, then that is when I dive into my story and I figure out just how far that I've come. So every time that I look back, I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. Scotty's very sweet. He's like, she's a star diamond and has good energy. This is true. And I do believe that I have a lot of value to bring to this business. But there's been times when I was 1 month off from being like a success all-star or whatever you call it and you can let those failures bring you down and just be really discouraged, or you can remind yourself of the growth you've made and be like, hey, I am amazing and nothing will stop me. So that is my mission, is to share with you guys that even if you're not doing, even if you're not where you want to be, always look back and see how far that you've come, because that is the true beauty, is not comparing to where everybody else is, but just knowing that you're growing. So thank you for being here, you guys. So grateful to have you here. I'm going to go ahead and share my slides. So actually, I've got my slides pulled up, but I don't think I'm sharing my screen. So thank you again for your patience. Here it is. Okay. So you got my screen? Okay, thanks for the thumbs up so I can see what's happening. Okay, so I started, it's funny, I had an old DVD. It was a copy of Shaelee Johnson, Turbo Fire, and that's how it all started, because I always felt so amazing after I finished that DVD that I would do over and over again. It was just incredible. I had no idea that one day, I would have finished like 35 programs plus, where at that point in my life, I couldn't finish anything. So I started Jillian Michaels, and I was getting ready for my wedding and I didn't finish it, but that's okay. So that was my first experience with working out at home. And having kids after my second daughter, I realized that something needed to change. I was trying to do it the same way that my mom was doing it. And she's an amazing mom, so selfless. I don't remember her like having that many activities or hobbies outside of the house, or, it was all about us, which I wanted that for my kids, because it was an incredible childhood But when I was trying to replicate what she gave us, I found that I was like really burnt out. And I was trying to figure out, you know, who am I after having a kid, after getting married? Like, who am I anymore? And I was sitting up late one night and I was scrolling on Facebook like we do. And I ran into this girl who was sharing about her life, and she is on right now, Kira Ward. And at that time, she just had one kid, but now she's got four kids. So she's got one boy and three girls now. But at this time, so she was doing a free group online, and I jumped in. I was sharing sweaty selfies in there. I was inviting all my friends. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but it's amazing. And it took me a couple of free groups before I actually was like, I don't know what this is, but January 1st, 2017, I dove in as a partner, mostly for my own accountability. But when they told me that you could make money for getting healthy, I was in. So I dove in. I think the breaking point for me was the night I was sitting up late, like I said, just depressed. I was writing my husband a letter, and I was writing, "You don't appreciate me enough. You don't do this, you don't do this." And I keep that letter to this day. You don't care about me, you don't notice this, you don't notice that I cook dinner for you, I do dishes, I do all of these things. And I keep that letter to this day to remind myself how far I've come, because I can look at that letter now and realize, whoa, how easy is it that we can tell other people or other characters in our story how they need to change, but then we don't actually look at how we can change. So no matter what, you are constantly telling a story in your head at all times. And we get to choose which stories that we believe. And when it comes down to it, we can't change other people in our story. We can only choose to change ourselves. So just a very quick reminder from the famous Joe Dispenza that when we are making change, that a lot of people will wait to feel things outside of themselves to feel happy inside. And so that's one thing that I love about this business, is that we require that personal development. And I have finished like 50 books probably, whereas before I couldn't finish reading a book at all. So that is huge. I quit reading like back in high school and college. And then from this business, I've fallen back in love with reading. But he says that most people try to create a new reality, but we're also hanging on to the same thoughts, feelings of guilt, unworthiness from the past. So just reminding you guys to not wait for abundance to feel gratitude. Don't wait for healing to feel whole, or don't wait for success to feel empowered. Don't wait for things outside of yourself, because I think that those are the times that I have gotten stuck, where it's like I'm looking for proof, and the proof is that we are the creators of our reality. So we are building our life right here, and other people have taught us that we need something outside of us to feel love, to feel whole, to feel worthy, to feel enough. But guess what? We don't. We don't need to earn it. I don't need to earn that I'm worthy, because it's already there, and neither do you. So that has been one of my, like, I almost get teary-eyed, because I'm like, it was BODi that was a vehicle to get me there, because I was so insecure. I was looking everywhere outside of myself, craving compliments. Literally, I remember my mom sitting on the couch next to me one day, and I was like hoping that she would tell me what an awesome job I was doing with these kids, but she didn't. And I left the conversation feeling like, are you kidding me? Not even my mom notices like how awesome, like what I'm doing, all this hard work. And that was the same with my marriage. If he didn't notice and he didn't say something, then I would just feel my identity would just collapse. It was based off of other people, and that is never going to last. That is always going to crumble if we base our worth off of things that are outside of us. We're worthy because we say we are. We were born worthy. And I just wanted to remind you guys, if we wait for anything outside of us to make us happy, we're not, like Joe would say, following the quantum law. We are relying on the outer to change the inner. So it's the other way around. Instead of looking out, we look within. So we're just going to go right ahead to this really funny picture that I thought was hilarious. This guy is standing behind a bar. So many of us are standing behind, or we're trapped by our circumstances and we feel like we're caged. We don't realize if we shifted left or right, you would be out of prison. That wall is only one wall. He's not even surrounded by a full jail cell. And one shift in our perspective can turn our pain into bliss. My sister just texted me yesterday and she's like, oh my gosh, I was creating all of my own problems. And I'm like, I know that feeling. We forget and then we remember, and we forget and then we remember. And that's what I love about this business, is that it's helped me become conscious of the personal narrative that's going on in my head at all times. Our brain thinks these stories are real, but they are not facts. So I'll tell you a very quick example to give you an idea. I cooked a very fancy dinner, and my husband, okay, it probably wasn't very fancy, but I was like really looking forward to hanging out with him. But I was telling a story in my head that he doesn't want to be around me. This was my story. Is that 100% true? Well, actually, I couldn't prove it to be 100% true, but in the moment, it felt really true. I would walk in the room and he would walk out, and I'm like, collecting evidence. He doesn't want to be around me. And I go in the backyard. He was in the backyard, but suddenly he doesn't want to be in the backyard. And I'm just like, it sounds really weird. But I went and talked to a girl who does life coaching, and she's like, okay, that's actually not facts. That is your own personal narrative. He doesn't want to be around you. And there's a lot of ways that we can look at this. So if you're looking for a book recommendation, she recommended the book Loving What Is by Byron Katie. Like a life-changing book for my marriage, for my whole entire life. I suggest Audible because she goes through every different thought that you could think of. But the point of the story was, I cooked a nice dinner, and he's like, you know, I'm actually not going to eat dinner. I'm going to do jujitsu. And I looked at him and I was like, have fun at jujitsu, basically like scuzzed him. And I was just like so mad because I was really wanting time with him. And of course, he left. So I told her about the story, and she's like, okay, the facts of the story, I said, he didn't eat dinner with me. Those are the facts. And she's like, no. He didn't eat dinner, or he didn't want to eat dinner. That is the facts. You adding the with me at the end makes it a painful story. And I'm like, okay, but still, you know, he doesn't want to be around me. And she's like, well, can you think of are you sure that that's true? Can you think of, the book asks you to think of three proofs of evidence that he does. And I'm like, well, he just got home from a 48-hour shift at the fire station. And actually, he went to a wedding with me. It was my friend's, not his. So I guess that's one proof. And then I went through a couple of others. Oh, actually, I can see now he does want to be around me. So we get trapped in these narratives, you guys, and they feel so real, but they're not. They're not real. If it's not love, it's not real. And so I just think that this is such a big takeaway. I hope you all are doing personal development. Another big book that I love is Limitless by Chris Crone. I went to some of his live events, and there's just a couple of others. So I want to ask you, what stories are you telling yourself? And you know, how do you show up in those moments when you tell yourself that story? Because when I told myself the story, he didn't want to be around me. This is how I show up. But when I tell myself the story, he loves being around me. I make eye contact. I say, hey, have a good time in jujitsu, you know. he doesn't have to eat the dinner if he's not hungry. Like, that's okay. And so I just want to remind you that at all times we are telling stories. And sometimes we do get caught up in some limiting beliefs. And it is our job to pull all the weeds that we are growing in our garden. One day you will tell the story of how you overcame what you went through, and it will be someone else's survival guide. I've had multiple people message me, you guys. They've told me that I helped save their marriage. And of course, I always tell them, no, that's you. But I love that people can use my story to have hope. I love that I can show people what's possible. I just the other day, somebody's like, that picture you shared of you as a teenager when you were younger, I could see myself in that story. And I'm like, whoa, okay, like this is crazy. And some other girl messaged me and she's like, you know, your posts about, this story that you told, it made me think about my own thoughts and my own life and my own friendships and just other things that we don't realize we're holding ourselves back big time. So the very first thing I wanted to cover was your own personal narrative, because that's step one, is to always work on your own personal narrative. And are you going to have it mastered? No, you're going to have to keep pulling all the weeds, but eventually, like a river with no rocks impeding it, it's going to flow. And you're going to be able to flow that love, that joy, that gratitude, that abundance more often than being stuck in suffering. We get to choose how much we want to suffer, right? Hold on, I got to turn this on. Woo! It worked. Okay. Brene Brown is another one of my favorite authors because her power of vulnerability reminded me that if we stay really quiet and to ourselves, we actually are risking that connection, because when we are vulnerable, it connects us. And Petra Kohlberg shared in one of our summits, and I was bawling. She said something about it's our cracks that connect us more than the highlights. And I was like crying, because this is the best part, is we get to make this job what we want it to be. We get to be ourselves. How often do you have a job that tells you, hey, you should work on pulling the weeds of those nasty thoughts in your head? You don't have a job like that. Nobody has a job like that except for us. We get to tell stories to make meaning of our life. So sometimes I will revisit old things that I really struggled with, and we get to rewrite those stories. Like, I struggled making friends. I literally would sleep in class. When I switched schools, I felt like nobody wanted to talk to me. I was sloughing class, and I didn't realize, oh my gosh, I wasn't even engaging with anyone. This was me in class. Of course, nobody's going to talk to me in class. So this business, I've been able to revisit old parts of my life and be able to write a different ending. I get to celebrate my milestones, to see my growth, to connect with other people, because let's face it, we're not body robots, and we don't want to be. So I just want to remind you guys that this will help people know you. It helps people really like you. Someone told me, I had no idea you grew up in a trailer park, because I grew up in a trailer park with 6 kids in 2 bedrooms. We had 3 bunk beds in one room, you guys. I'm not exaggerating that I literally had one box with all my stuff for my future life sitting underneath my bed. And I'm like, one day I'm going to be able to hang this shelf on my wall and saving my future stuff. And when people have heard that story, they're like, whoa, wow, I had no idea. And then they will never forget it. They will never forget it. They will always remember it. So if you're like, I don't have a story, I don't know, I want you to do what they encouraged us to do October 16th. There was there was our Monday call. If you're not already listening to the National Wake Up Call, it's amazing. Helps you start the Monday right. It's in the BODi app now, but back then it was on Facebook, and she encouraged us to go and make these color wheels where, and this is hers. I didn't show you mine. Mine's a little bit different. It was on scratch paper, but basically mine has things like what makes me me, because I'm telling you, we all have that special, unique insight, experiences, wisdom. We have ancient wisdom hiding inside of us, you guys. And I've had other partners on my team that I were able to sign up people that I had already talked to, but they didn't sign up with me. They signed up with the partners on my team because their story resonated with them. They're like, well, you didn't have a lot of weight to lose and she did. And I was like, oh, see, so people are going to sign up with who they resonate with. And we're all uniquely made. Your experiences matter. Share your humor, your personality. Trust me, you don't need to be perfect. It's better if you're not, because the most important thing is authenticity. They can measure emotions down to the accuracy of being next to someone. They can say, he's feeling frustrated. He's feeling angry. He's feeling jealous. And they measured that authenticity is the most powerful human emotion. And you cannot, you have to tell the truth and you have to believe it. So that's why it's so important to practice. We've practiced long enough those limiting beliefs. It's time to practice a different narrative. So think to yourself, what value do I bring? What story do I want to tell today? So is this worth talking about? I want to hear in the comments, how has BODi been a vehicle to help you solve a problem? Maybe it has helped you with a problem physically. Maybe it's helped you with something mentally, financially, with your nutrition. I used to be a sugar addict, you guys. I haven't even told the story very recently, but I used to put syrup over my eggs, over my bacon, over my pancakes. I would do syrup on the whole plate. And nobody to this day probably believes me, but I was a sugar addict. I would eat like 4 bowls of cereal because I can. And I would eat like 3 packs of those powdered oatmeals that come with the pre-flavored. And then I checked how much sugar was in it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. For years, I was a sugar addict. Has this helped you with goals, aspirations? I know it has brought me a sense of purpose, a sense of passion outside of motherhood. Has it helped you with personal growth? Because it definitely has had me digging into personal development books. Has it helped you with friendship like it has with me? Now I feel like I can make a friend anywhere I go. There are friends all over the world. Has it helped you with business skills? I definitely have been working on my communication skills. A couple of books that I love are Nonviolent Communication and Say What You Mean. So communication is one of the hardest skills because we don't learn it. And so it's really cool that we get to practice it and get better and better. Okay, so in the comments, a few people have shared. Let's see, has this helped you guys with anything? I would love to see. Ooh, Matthew, thank you for sharing. He said it has helped him develop discipline and habits in me that were not present growing up. My mom has said, while she always thought I would be successful, she never imagined who I would be today. This me was developed by these programs, personal development, and the leaders I'm surrounded by. Matthew, that is amazing. Alma, and I want to also mention that it's not just the products, it's also you, because you are your own healer. It's not our job to heal other people, and it's not the products, it's their own. So everybody is their own healer. And Matthew, it's amazing that you use those to heal yourself. I am so proud of you, and I'm glad that your mom can see that. Alma, the main one will be my help from having chronic migraines every week to barely no headaches. Oh my gosh, I love hearing that. So this is incredible, you guys, because so many people really do have chronic illnesses, but as we know, disease is actually dis-ease. It is often our stress, all of that cortisol pumping through our body that is causing us all of these sicknesses. We can heal ourselves, and I'm a believer of that. Thank you for sharing your stories, you guys. So it's time to write. And you're going to have about 10 minutes to write the first part of your story if you haven't already. A couple of people that I've done this with before have sent their stories to me before they post it. So if you want feedback, you can send them to me. You can send them to your upline before you post them, because sometimes we don't even hear in our own story, you know, where we're still using. So for example, if you say, I will do anything that I want to do in this life, or I can do, I will is a future tense term. So if you're speaking in the future tense, it's still in the future. So if you say, I will, like, I don't know exactly how to explain it. The limiting belief book explains it way better than I can in a short amount of time. So we usually like to write it in the present. I am creating a future for myself, and I am abundant right now. I am worthy. I am worthy of love right now. So sometimes we say the word like will, I will develop the skills, or I can develop the skills. Well, but will you? So be careful with your words. Reminding you that this is not something you can Google. It's not quotes. I mean, you can add a quote or two if you would like, but it is your own story, encouraging you to use, not, you don't need to be an entrepreneur having the right jargon or anything like that. You don't need to talk all about our products. This is about your life. So think of I'm going to ask you guys to close your eyes and think of a moment in time where you had a challenge in front of you that you didn't think you could overcome. Something that just shook you. You were pretty certain that you wouldn't make it through. Think of that moment. Think of the emotions that you were feeling. If you have a paper and pencil, you can write down some of those emotions you were feeling. I encourage you to dive in on emotion words because they create more empathy. Brene Brown teaches that in her book, Atlas of the Heart. If we just say, I felt bad, no, go deeper. What did you feel? Did you feel that you weren't enough? Maybe you felt inadequate. Maybe you felt frustrated. Maybe you felt, I'm trying to think of more specific vocabulary words, insecure. Maybe you felt, let me see. I'm trying to think, depressed. Maybe you felt unlovable. Maybe you felt hopeless. Oh my gosh, that's one that comes up for me. Hopeless. Those words are going to hit with people. Think of a time that maybe you felt hopeless. What exactly were you feeling? Tell the story of that moment. Don't jump to the solution already. We're going to live in that moment. So write about that moment. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys have your silent timer. Does anybody have a paper and pencil? If you don't, you're going to use your phone, the notepad, and you're going to write. I want you to not jump to the solution. I want you to think of that time. Scotty talks about his time he went to the mailbox. He's so good at telling that story. He felt hopeless with those bills. He felt heavy. He felt like there was nothing he could do. He felt discouraged. So go ahead and write the beginning. What did you see? What did you feel? What did you hear? What did you smell? I'm going to start the timer. And then, Scotty, how many minutes should we do on this part? Maybe 5 or less? What do you think?
5 sounds good.
Okay, let's do 5 minutes on this part. You guys dig in and don't jump to the solution. We are right here in the story. Okay, I'm going to pause. I'm going to mute the mic. Okay, you have 1 minute. So kind of just wrapping up that part of, think of that time. How did you feel? What did you see? What did you do? What did you say? What did you believe at that time? She was up in my room last I checked. She told me I could use her room. Is that where she's been meeting? Because I'm on a Zoom call. So sorry. So right about the time, we're writing about a time we thought this problem was so heavy we would never overcome it. Okay. Does anyone want to unmute and just share like what you wrote? It's okay if you don't want to. So it's okay if you didn't get to this part yet, if you're still brainstorming. I would encourage you to take a picture of this slide too. This is about hooking your audience. We live in a very distracted age where if you don't hook them within the first line, you're going to probably not have them read your stuff. So another way that we can share our story is through reels, where we just have a little bit written on each picture. And that's another way to engage them. But in Summit, that they shared these. So have you ever imagined that so there you were. So instead of, she said not to use I as much, but I do still feel like using I is okay. You do want to try to let other people see you in the story, or see themselves in your story. So trying to be aware of using I a lot and maybe inserting the word you a little more often. So now that you have this part of the story, I would like to ask you, what have you learned or ever overcome from that moment? Does anybody want to share? Or how has BODi been a vehicle to help you through that moment? I wish I could see you guys and not the screen. Let me see if I can. Go ahead and take a picture of this before I get off of that. So you can always ask a question. Who else has felt? Have you ever felt you had life perfectly planned, but then something unexpected threw you off? You could share a fact. Did you know 1 in 10 people? I shared a fact at the beginning of this. Did you know that authenticity is is the highest frequency that humans radiate? It's 4 times more powerful than love. Does anybody want to share what story that they want to dive into? If you're feeling uncomfortable about sharing your story, you can cookie crumble. I do understand you don't just want to blast the world with all your private personal stuff. I get that. So that's when we cookie crumble our story about a small thing that you learned or overcome. And then over time, you can open more or spiral back to it. So I would love to hear you guys' stories. So feel free to, you don't have to tag me, but you could send it to me before you post it. You can tag me if you want to. You can put it in the team page so we can show you love. But I just want to remind you guys that you are absolutely amazing. Right here, right now. You don't need to do anything to earn it. You were born worthy, perfect, whole, complete. And I hope you know that this business is a beautiful vehicle that can help us reach a lot of people through our story. And I really do. Scotty says he also thinks it would be awesome to have him in the team page so that we can go and show you guys some love. I really do have experience. I want to wrap this up because I want to respect your time, but I have experienced so much joy, love, connection from this community. And I really have learned that when we are brave and we're uncomfortable, those are the moments that we grow the most. Those are the moments that we sometimes have that resistance pop up inside of us where we feel scared. But overcoming our fears and moving through them, it's liberating, you guys. It is liberating. So that's why I have been using fear as a, kind of a guideline of, oh, I'm afraid to do this team call. Maybe I need to do it. Oh, I'm afraid to teach a yoga class. Maybe I'll do it then. I'm afraid of going live. I'm going to do it. I'm afraid. So we can use moments of uncomfortability to grow as a person. And that's one thing that I love so much about this business. When I started, I had no idea what I was capable of. And to think that my hubby and I, we get paid to do trapeze now. I did not even start trapeze till I was 30, and now we're 33. And I truly believe that having these programs, like Matthew said, having these tools has helped elevate my results so that I can do these things. And I'm so grateful for a community that's dedicated to self-improvement. I'm grateful for the Daily Fire by Brennan Bouchard, driving every day to work to get my head in the right space for my students, my kids. I'm grateful for those workouts because sometimes they're the only thing I'm looking forward to. And I just am grateful for all of you guys. So never forget that you're not alone in your challenge. We are together. We are connected. We are Team BODi. This is not an all by yourself struggle. Always reach out if you want, if you need a friend or you are feeling stuck or you need help, because this truly, truly has connected me to so many people. And whether they do BODi or not, we are dedicated to helping people live happier, healthier, more fulfilling lives, and reminding everybody that they are worthy and that you guys are capable of anything. We are capable of anything if we believe that we are. So I love you guys, and thank you, Scotty, for having me. Scotty says it's funny that we encourage our kids to be brave and to try new things, yet many of us are afraid to try new things in the business and life. That is actually so true. If you let your ego take over and worry too much about what you're going to look like, you won't do anything. Be willing to look stupid. Be willing to fail, be willing to stand back up over and over again. It is so true. Thank you so much, Scotty. And I hope you guys have an amazing night. Love you.